Hi, my name is Mark Bünger. I'm a research director here at Lex Research, and I'm with Tom Halbouty, who is the VP, CIO, and CTO at Pioneer. So, Tom, we were just talking about your imminent retirement. But before we get to that and what you want to do, I'd like to start at the other end of your career, and that was when you were a kid.
Okay.
So, when you're a kid, we all have some technology that fascinates us, that gets us into the careers that we choose. What was your passion?
Well, that's a great question. I guess music drove a lot of my initial interest in technology. So my dad, who had played violin in the Dallas and Houston Symphony, bought me a small Sony vacuum tube tape recorder as a kid.
Vacuum tube tape recorder?
Vacuum tube tape recorder. Very early technology. He liked the sound of it better than the solid state ones. Probably got a deal on it, and so we and my buddy started filming commercials and had a ball with that. And then I got interested in music and records and then photography. So really a lot of, I guess, my interest in technology stemmed from sight and sound.
So today, a lot of the technology is not just information technology, but physical technologies. We've seen a lot more hardware, not just information related, but coatings and new techniques for finding and extracting oil and gas. Have you seen the same type of appetite for innovation in the industry, in those other areas, the non-IT areas?
Yes. So I launched Pioneer's innovation program in 2008. And even though I was over the information technology side, I'd served a couple of terms for Governor Perry on the Emerging Technology Fund, and that allowed me to review probably a couple of hundred startups in everything from material sciences, nanomaterials, to downhole drilling assemblies, to artificial retinas, many technologies. And I found that Pioneer was quite open to the notion of a innovation program, and it's had quite a number of successes, and we worked it through a progression over time, but they're very open to innovation.
Yeah, so you mentioned open, you mentioned the government, at least the state of Texas, and startups. And then I know you also obviously do work with universities as well. So could you describe what your ecosystem looks like today? What do you do internally? What do you prefer to do externally? What are those different external players? Like, what roles do they play best for you?
Well, let's start with our basic approach to innovation, and I don't know that it's super unique. We do look at our employees as a major source of innovation, just as we look at our suppliers, universities, private labs. We, like many, believe innovation can come from virtually anywhere. And so we fired up our innovation program by eliciting from about 300 internal technical people what their passions were in terms of interests around innovation, and what areas did they think represented the nexus of their passion and Pioneer's interest, irrespective of their job. And we took that information, and our first step down that road of creating our innovation process was to create these focus groups where we got like-minded people together to discuss the possibilities of the future. That was just our first step. We then created a annual conference, field technology conference, to share innovation. And then from there, we created a quick pitch program that I copied from the Texas Emerging Technology Fund, where we pre-reviewed deals and opportunities, and then we pitched them to a very agile subset of our executive team that could approve or make recommendations to go back and rework your presentation and bring it back, and they could move pretty swiftly down the road of funding activities. And then, of course, we've invested in products like yours and others to help us, look for opportunities that are accretive to Pioneer.
Okay. Well, to go a little bit from the here and now to out in the future and where you see things going, there's obviously a lot changing and going on in oil and gas and energy generally. So Where do you see, if you look, say, 10 years or 15 years into the future, where do you see the mix of Pioneer's business and how that fits in with the rest of the industry? Do you see, for example, methane to hydrogen? Do you see renewables fitting in? How does all this fit together, do you think, in the future?
What I would like to speak towards is how I see companies like Pioneer evolving and what I think the future around innovation might be. And one is, I think, this big data approach that we have today may become a bit obsolete in the future. We as people and most animals have a lot of autonomous capability. So we make a lot of our own choices by reading the information that's available to us, and we make decisions. And my thoughts are big data, it will always matter, and we do want to review and look for trends and patterns. But I think autonomous drill bits, autonomous capability built into devices themselves is probably where I see a lot of the future in technology going. We have autonomous vehicles now being developed, and I think that mimics the way natural life works, and it's probably a good model for how the future of technology and material science and robotics and capability are all going to blend together.
Wow, okay, so the autonomous oil field, that sounds good.
The autonomous devices in the oil field. I think it'll be tethered and monitored, and I think there's a lot of monitoring also that will happen at the subsurface level through nanomarkers and a way of propagating information in waves through the Earth's structure that we're just on the cusp of really improving.
Yeah, okay. Well, to wrap up then, going back to your retirement where we started, I think certainly for a person like you, for a lot of us, retirement looks very different than it used to. It's not golf and taking it easy in Florida. I think most of us would be pretty bored with that. So I know you've got some interesting plans. What would be your ideal continuation of all this innovation work, even though you're not formally working at the place you've had your career?
Well, I do hope to actually enjoy some things in retirement, like music and family and photography and travel. But I do hope to stay engaged in innovation and perhaps contribute on an advisory basis or board level with some companies that value innovation and the ability to really the magic that I hope a lot of people that are interested in innovation can bring to companies. And it came up earlier in one of your keynotes today is how do you maintain passion in an organization for innovation that has a tremendous burden of just executing a successful business model? And to me, that's more art than science, and it requires a lot of focus on the way people are wired within a company and getting them to work on the things that really they do have passion around. And it's not always innovation for everybody. So you got to let the ones that like to innovate do that, and the ones that are very focused on execution clear their path and let them do that as well.
Very good. Well, I'm sure it'll be a huge asset to whoever's board you end up on. Combination of passion and great expertise. And so thank you very much for being here and for talking with us today.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.